I am certainly sure that they have a hand somehow on that. Because if there were no financial benefit for Tucker Carlson, there wouldn't be a big shift like you saw now.
How much do we really know of what goes on in Qatar? That who is considered the legitimate Qatar, who is not legitimate. But be it as it may, to understand and appreciate that everything that happens in this world now is by divine providence, the good, the bad, and the ugly indeed.
Talk to me about why this regime is not legitimate, why they are not what they paint themselves to be in the Western world. And I use the example of the latest peace deal where they painted themselves as these peacemakers that were there to help when they themselves funded the October 7 attacks. They harboured the leaders of Hamas, yet they pretend to be the ones that care deeply about trying to create peace in a region where they are on the other side creating all the chaos.
Let me ask you a question. If there were no Qatar or there were no Hamas, let's say, will Qatar has any role in any mediation?
No.
The same thing happened with Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and every single terrorist front. Syria, for example. The world was accusing Qatar of funding terrorism in that time, which is Al-Nusra Front. And what happened after that? Qatar promoting them and putting them on the table of Trump. So it's not an accusation, it's a factual information. The Qatari regime existence is based on terrorism. If there is not existing, the Qatari regime is not there. There's no mediation. Let me explain to you how they think. 2010, I was sitting with Tamim and his brother in that time. And one of our drivers from Eritrea, and I want to ask you a question, you. Have you ever heard of Djibouti and Eritrea conflict?
No.
No. Who on earth care about that? So basically, let me explain to you how Tamim think. We were sitting, Tamim and his brother, and one of the drivers from Eritrea, and he was explaining that they have a conflict, border conflict between Djibouti and Eritrea. Tamim jumped. He said, oh, we can solve it. We can solve the problem. He was in that time the crown prince of Qatar. Now Hamas, they saw, okay, so the West, they're giving this case importance. So we have to be there. Every single relationship Qatar had before with any regime, like from Gaddafi regime, Saddam Hussein regime, they just betrayed them. They betrayed them. They betrayed that regimes. Even Gaddafi regime, they were in a strong relationship with them. They were sitting in secret tables. They were making conspiracy against the other GCC countries, and I exposed them. I am the one who leaked the record of Gaddafi, between Gaddafi and the leaders of Qatar. And it's made a big issue in the Middle East in that time, and it was the base of the main conflict in 2014. People forgot. Yes, we played a big role in exposing the Qatari regime. It's in all Arab media mainstreams. You can go there and check that records and see how they operate. So, yes, we did achievements in exposing the regime of Qatar, but they are trying to undermine us in every single movement. They are smart. They're spending their money to do one thing. Example, in the Western America, I was shocked to know a few days ago that they are promoting to some people in America that I am a front for the Qatari regime without saying it. They pay people to say, oh, this guy is being created by the Qatari regime to go and just pretend there is an opposition of Qatar. And that's an absolute bullshit. What they're trying to do is in undermining every single opposition they face. They are hacking people. They are terrorizing people. Even Karim Khan's story, you've seen it in the Karim Khan, the judge in the criminal court, they hacked him. They hacked me. They hacked a lot of their rebels. They have no morals and no ethics.
So, Khalid, you're preaching to the converted with me. I get it entirely. These are the same people, again, who fund terrorism and harbour terrorists. So you don't need to convince me that they are evil. I believe that wholeheartedly. How does it change? And talk to me about the people on the ground in Doha. You look at the Iranian regime, over 80% minimum despise that illegal regime. They are not the legitimate leaders of Iran. Is it a similar situation in Qatar? Do the majority of people want there to be democracy? Do they want their leaders harbouring terrorists?
Let me explain to you the way Qatar operates before we jump into that moment. So Qatar has something called original Qataris and the Qataris, the migrant Qataris who came recently, like 20, 30 years ago. So Qatar, to make balance, to control the country, they replaced the original people with people with outsiders. And what they've done, when the election happened in Qatar, the first democratic election, 2021, which they promised from 2013, the majority of the seats was from so the whole election was based on the original Qataris. They excluded the other people. So when that happened, the majority of the seats gone to the people that oppose the Qatari regime and the Qatari mentality. And what happened after? They canceled the election. They canceled the whole election. Even in the army of Qatar, they intentionally mixing foreigners with the locals because they know for fact that the Qatari people, the original Qatari people, they condemn the Qatari government actions. They are acting solely like it's an absolute monarchy system. So the guy, he decides what's happened. He will decide what's coming up next. The Qatari people are not Muslim Brotherhood. We are not Muslim Brotherhood. We are not Islamist. We are not extremists. It's the regime and their affiliates. That's the problem. So if you talk about legitimacy, let me come back to you and say, my promise to the world, this regime will not stand for long. This regime has an expiry date. They don't know what's coming toward them. They think everything is fine. Renting loyalty and renting influence is temporary. It's for today, tomorrow, and after tomorrow. But things are changing. The world is changing. Money will buy silence for a short period of time. But to stop a terrorist regime like the Qatari regime, you have to go to the source of the issue. They have an enormous access to money, and that's the problem. So if you stop that, you stop terrorism in the world, and it should be controlled. What people need to understand that there is the other side, there is the other voice inside the country. We cannot talk. I am here talking because I am in a different country and I can say what I want to say. The Qatari regime, they terrorizing the people. The former Minister of Justice in Qatar is banned from traveling from Doha. He cannot say anything. Most of the people in Qatar, the reformists, they cannot travel outside Doha. Is that a democratic regime? Is that the regime that the West want to put their hand with? They're terrorizing people, putting them in jail for a poetry. One person being jailed for 15 years. And now when he left the country. Is that possible?
Khalid, how does it change? You say that change is coming and they don't know it yet. Tell me how it changes.
We are making the change. We starting now to make the change. We will make a big difference. Our promise to the nation of Qatar that this regime will collapse, will change. The main issue the West is facing now, they fear that a new regime that comes to Doha might have a conflict with them. It's the opposite. We are the solution. We have no affiliation with extremist or Islamist.
Talk to me about someone like Tucker Carlson, who seems to have changed his tune entirely when it comes to Qatar. And look, I don't know what his arrangements are. I haven't seen any evidence of anything, but there has been a significant change of tune from him when it comes to his narrative and his coverage of Qatar.
There is an investigation is going on now by Khalid Al-Hel Institute, and there's I can't say much about it, but I've been investigating this matter for a very long time, and it was a bit of a strange thing for me and for many others. But when you start linking things together, and the way he shifted, and the timeline, you will understand that Qatar has a big hand on it. And I definitely, I'm very certain, without the core evidence, let's say, but I'm certain.
And we make that very clear, absolutely,
Yeah,
yes,
yes.
speculation.
But I am certainly sure that they have a hand somehow on that. Because if there were no financial benefit for Tucker Carlson, there wouldn't be a big shift like you saw now. So the issue is he's not only pro-Trump, but he was on the right camp. Qatar recently shifted a lot of people from the right camp to their own camp. And in the near future, we will see what exactly they've been doing. And I'm sure I can't say much, but there is certain things is happening that it will be revealed soon to the world. I'm very sure about that.
I look forward to all of that coming out. We've got to wrap up, but I want to ask you, is there a target on your head? Does the Qatari regime want to get rid of you entirely?
Definitely. They are defamating my character for many years. And they've been attacking me in different ways. In the Arab media, they say he's a pro-Israel puppet. He's a propaganda machine for Israel. For example, in the within Qatari people, this guy's a puppet for Saudi Arabia or the UAE. In the West, in America, they pay people to say, they are part of our regime, but say it indirectly. So to undermine him and to make people to fear to deal with them. So this is the way they do. But we know all these tactics. It's old story. It's nothing new. We will fight it.
For those of us who are historians, for those of us who are into understanding foreign politics, foreign policy, may know a little bit about Qatar. We all know that America has a huge base there in Qatar. But do we really understand what Qatar represents and what their agenda is? We have a hard enough time of us understanding each other in the Western society, but in the Arab world, for us to wrap our mind around the difference between the various factions, the various governments, the various countries, the various outlooks, and who's more radical than the other, it's really requires a tremendous amount of knowledge, understanding, fact-checking, and truth seekers to really appreciate what is going on in the other side of the world. We are so comfortable and so used to our own society, but you think about America, United States of America is just merely 250 years old. Next year we're going to celebrate our 250th anniversary of being the United States of America. And we basically went from zero to a first world country for superpower of the world in just a short 250 years compared to the thousands of years of the empires that have been around. One thing we do know, and it's abundantly clear, the amount of wealth that there is in Qatar and what wealth can buy. We don't understand the magnitude of the power of what wealth can buy. There are many innuendos, many accusations, many theories of who has been funding the universities and their protests against Israel and against the West. And even dealing with the October 7 conflict. Was Qatar playing as a mediator? Were they really neutral or not? And one thing we do understand from this video from this interview we have just witnessed from the opposition, that even with all the money in the world, life is not, as I say, hunky-dory. Even with all the money that Qatar has, there are some fundamentals, issues that have not been addressed. And why did God provide everyone else but Israel with the resources of oil? And question is, what is those resources being used for? So we certainly pray and hope that we can move forward to the 21st century. Many Arab countries, many jihadists, Islamists, radicals are reverting back to the 7th and 8th century. We have progressed into the 21st century. There are some very moderate Arab countries who have embraced the 21st century and are doing very well for its citizens, but many are still stuck. And that's where the rise of terrorism and the anti-West, anti-Judaism, anti-Christianity, those sentiments are being grown. The Abraham Accords that began in President Trump's first term was a breakthrough of history. To have Arab countries to recognize Israel's right for existence and develop diplomatic ties was huge. Just before October 7, it was getting very, very close. Saudi Arabia, I believe, was very close to joining the Abraham Accords, and Hamas blew that all up. So we're hoping now that it's post-Gaza war, that the moderate Arab countries can come together and come in peace, shake hands with Israel, recognize that Israel not only has a right to exist, but that Israel is there in peace, is there to serve you, to provide you with all that you need. We do know so many clandestine operations that has gone on over the years, where many Arab leaders from Arab countries came to Israel for medical health, where they knew the best of care is in Israel, and Israel has never denied that from happening, always provided care. One of the hardest experiences are for nurses who talk about their experience when there is a suicide bomber and there are terrorist attacks, and then some of the surviving terrorists are brought to their ER, how they have to do life-saving measures on a terrorist who just tried and successfully killed many of their brothers and sisters. But yet Israel does not turn away a patient, even if it's a terrorist. That is Israel. That is the nature of Israel. And the world needs to recognize that and appreciate it. God bless you. God loves you.